This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everyone present for today's session. I hope my voice is audible to all of you. Fine. So you can log into your Tally softwares, select your company. So we can just start up for today's session. Are you all ready? Okay. So last class we had discussed about the creation of stock categories, right? So now we are going to go for creation of stock groups, and then I'm going to discuss about GST with you, and then the stock items. Okay, right. So let me share the screen with you now. Yes, yes, I've logged into the company. And now let me go to the presentation. So last class we had created four stock categories, which is electronic devices, home appliances, stationery, and then we had as fuel. And now we are going to go for the stock group creation. Okay. So what is stock groups? Stock group is similar to your accounting groups, where stock items of similar nature, brand, etc., can be classified under a single stock. How do you categorize ledgers under the respective groups? In the same way, your stock group will behave. For example, okay, suppose if you have to create, a stock item, and then as Philips, Sony, or Samsung TVs, I will categorize it under the group of television. Okay, so like this, your stock group will behave. So let's create the stock groups first. Yeah. So I've given you a couple of stock groups here, which you can create it in your computer. Right. So let's start creating these stock groups. So carefully you have to go. Yes. Now you can do one thing. Probably you can also assign the rates here. Okay, I'll do it along with. I mean, you're going to do it along with me. So I have given the GST rates here. Okay, you can put up the rates here itself. Right. So what you're going to do is, please make sure you're in Gateway of Tally screen. Go to the Create option, and here you have a stock. Yes. So I hope all of you are in the stock group creation window. I'll repeat it again. If you're in Gateway of Tally, go to the Create option, and here you have a stock. Press Enter on stock group. This is a stock group creation window. Okay, fine. So now printers. Everything is created under primary. Should the quantities of the items be added, make sure it is yes. Why this has to be activated as yes is for one simple reason that now if I don't activate this feature, So when I'm recording a purchase transaction, it will not let me to add the quantity purchased. In the sense, whenever there is a purchase entry, the stocks get increased, the stocks get added, correct? So if I don't activate this feature in the stock group creation window, I will not be able to add the quantity. So make sure for all the stock groups what you create, make sure this is yes. Should the quantities of the items be added should be yes. Enter. Yes, and we come to the HSN or the SAC related details. So this requires a GST discussion, all these things. So what you're going to do is, as of now, you're going to create that much. Give the name as printers. On the primary, should the quantities of the items be added as yes. These features, the statutory details, we can put up after I discuss about the GST. So don't add up any features here. I hope it's clear. So give the name as printers and the primary. Should the quantities of the items be added yes. These features we'll take care later. Controlling. The next one, computers. So you can have, I mean, you can capture this. Computers, mobile phones, notebooks, television, refrigerators, pens, and liquid fuel. Okay, fine. So let's quickly create all everything. Computers, mobile phones, next, notebooks, television, next, refrigerators, pens, liquid fuel. So I put up the table again. You can just see the same, and if you're doing it, finish it. Yes. 1 second. Yeah. Yes, are you done? Finished? Okay. So now we are going to go to the next step. Okay, so before I discuss about the stock item, okay, there is an involvement of GST. If you observe here, I've given the table for you. I've given here six stock items, which are Logitech printers, Vivo mobiles, Renault pens, Dell computers, classmate notebooks, petrol. Okay, and against every stock item, there is a number which is appearing 18%, 18%, 12%, 18%, 12%, like that. That is not the discount rate, but it is the GST rate which is applicable in respect of such stock items. Okay, so now what is a stock item? It is a primary inventory entity and it is the lowest level of information on your inventory. As I told you, it is a hierarchy. So first appears the stock category, then the stock group, and finally we have this is the stock item. I've given a small hierarchy here. See, suppose if I take mobile phone only as a stock category, stock group will be Samsung mobile phone. And in that we have 32 GB Samsung mobile phone, a simple one I've given. It depends upon the business how they put up, how they make the classification. Okay, so here if you observe, you have the GST rates which are being put up. Okay, so before discussing with this and creating these, let me discuss GST with you. Okay, so yes, so how far you know about GST? Yes, can I have the responses for the same? Anything you know, or so most of the things if you know, also you can unmute yourself or you can put up in the chat box. Yes, as per you, what is GST? What kind of a tax is GST? Yes. No responses? Yep. So GST is nothing but the indirect tax of a nation. GST stands for Goods and Services Tax. Fine. Now, in place of GST, we had 10 to 15 indirect taxes. Then it was replaced by the GST, making it one nation, one tax. So GST is regarded as the indirect tax of our country. Obviously, we also have the old taxes still relevant, but it doesn't cover huge number of products. It covers only a few. Okay, there's these do they do have livelihood till today. Okay, but it is at a restricted number. So yes, this is the basic structure of our Indian tax system. So here we have direct taxes and indirect taxes. So when it comes to your direct taxes, you have your income tax. Also, you have wealth tax. But wealth tax from years, it is said that it will be abolished, but we don't realize when it could be abolished. So income tax is the direct tax of our country. And coming to the indirect taxes, we have the central and we have the state taxes. We had so if I talk about the central indirect taxes, we had service tax, we had excise duty, we had CST. CST stands for Central Sales Tax, and we have this is customs duty, which is on imports. So service tax was a tax which used to be applied, levied on service providers. For example, the educational sector, it could be the hotel segment or the hotel sector. like that, service-based industries. If I talk about the excise duty, this type of tax used to be levied on the manufacturing segment. Okay, and CST, central sales tax. Suppose if a trader is making a sale of goods from his state to the uh, dealer in the other state, let's say to a person in who's put up in Mumbai. So from Bangalore it is going to Mumbai interstate. That time he had to apply the levy the CST, that is central sales tax, which was of 2%. And then we had customs duty. As I told you, few taxes have still life even till today. This customs duty is obviously levied upon the import. Whenever there is an import of goods, right, from the other countries, the basic customs duty is levied. Obviously, the additional customs duty they have waived or they have subsumed under GST. But even till today, we have the basic customs duty. And if I talk about the state indirect taxes, we have VAT, value added tax. Now, if CST used to be a tax which used to be levied for supplies between two states, between two or more states, VAT used to be levied on sale of goods happening within the state. Then coming to the entry tax or octroi duty, obviously, I'll give you a simple example for that. See, if there is a consignment which is moving from Bangalore to, let's say, Chennai. So there is a move from Bangalore to Chennai of consignment. Before the vehicle what do you say, transports the consignment to Chennai, before it enters the Tamil Nadu border, it had to pay the entry tax. Entry tax, octroi duty almost have the same meaning. So that time they had to pay the entry tax. Okay, and next is luxury tax. Obviously, on grand ceremonies, this luxury tax used to be levied. Okay, so like this, we had 10 to 15 indirect taxes. All these were replaced, were subsumed by the GST, that is goods and services tax. So, as I've told you, GST is an indirect tax. So, when was this GST implemented? When it came into force? Yes. When did GST come into force? Any response from your side? Yes. When did GST come into force? Yes, 2017. Good, Ryan. Sakshi, yes. Now, yes. 2017, 1st July in the midnight. And I've uploaded that. 1st of July 2017 in the midnight, GST was implemented in India. But you have the information that when it comes to the world ranking, where does India stand? Now, there are so many countries which have already implemented GST. Okay, of course, the tax system differs. Okay, no matter, but the GST implementation has been followed by so many countries. Now, if I talk about the world ranking, according to you, India would be assigned as, I mean, how would you rank India in the world ranking for the implementation of GST? It could be a guess number, a random number. It's left to you. You can put up the numbers in the chat box. my question was, the moment it was implemented, India stood as, of course, good. I've got a couple of answers. Sakshi and Rayana, 68th and one 63rd. 19. India stood when the time it was implemented. India stood as the 166th country to implement GST. Now, of course, the ranking would have changed, but that time it was 166th country to implement GST. So double of what you're telling, or rather, I can say more than that. So, which is the first country to implement GST? Any idea? France is the first country to implement GST. So France was the first country to implement GST. India stood as 166th country to implement GST. It had been discussion for all these years. We have to implement this year, the next year, and you know that there is a passing of bills in the parliament. So we have two important houses. So one time there used to be approval, the other time a rejection. In the year 2017, got the GST came into position in India in the year 2017. So instead of having 10 to 15, 10 to 15 taxes, now there is only one tax. Okay, so that's how your GST was formed in India. Yes, yes, this is a classic picture which I want to share with you. So all the old taxes were subsumed under GST. We have luxury tax, we have entry tax, we have local tax, we have the octroi duty. Local is nothing but the purchase tax and the entertainment tax, excise duty, CST, VAT, many more. They're all subsumed, they're all replaced by one tax, that is your GST, making it one nation, one tax. Hope this picture gives you much more clarity. Okay, next, why, for what purpose the GST was introduced in India? What were the main objectives behind it? Obviously, to eliminate the cascading effect. What does cascading mean? It is nothing but double taxation, tax on tax. There were times when there was a lot of double taxation effect, cascading effect, and by the time the product reaches, okay, the end person, nothing but the consumer, you know, it used to be priced with, I can say, a big burden of taxes. So because the burden of tax is usually shifted from the manufacturer or the seller to the buyer, nothing but the consumer. So, and most important, there was not a clarity of the addition of taxes in between, okay, in respect of the middleman. So, and there was a lot of confusions, lot of, I mean, there was no clarity about it. So, to eliminate that adverse effect, this cascading effect, they brought up GST in India. And second, ease of doing business. Why it becomes easy doing business after getting registered under GST? Simple. Now everything is online. I've also given that online procedure under GST. So before there was a time when the registered dealers or to get registered, they had to stand in queues near the department. Any grievances, any issues are there. Okay, so they had to raise it. Rather, I can say manually doing it. But now everything is online. Commencing from the registration under GST until the filing of payment of taxes and filing of all the returns and the reports, everything is online now. Okay, so the GST portal itself is there where you can log in with his username and password, and then he can uh, pay his taxes. Okay, so he at the time of registration, okay, he of course he requires a system. obviously the net, and most important is documents. Yes, that plays a crucial role. And a facilitation center, we call them as e-sugam centers, who help the dealers in getting registered under GST or a chartered accountant. Okay, who can assist a person in getting registered under GST. Okay, if these are there, he can get himself registered under GST and he can file his returns. Now, third option, third point, sorry, regulation of unorganized sector. So, what is this unorganized sector? I told that time there was no clarity of the taxes. Burden of taxes used to be put up in this long chain, supply chain. Of course, even till today, there is a large sector of people evading taxes. That is even till today running. But still, not many clarity was achieved by introducing GST. And coming to the uniform tax structure, now all of you see in the bill, right? What is this uniform tax structure? Let's say the GST rate is 18%. So how is it divided in the bill? If the GST rate is 18%, how is it divided in the bill? We see that what two important components we see. Have you observed it? I hope most of you would have known about it. Yes. If I consider GST rate as 18, how how there is a uniform division? Yes. CGST and IGST. Sure. It is CGST and SGST. Yes. IGST has two important phases. Okay, if I'm talking within the state, it is CGST and SGST. If I'm talking between the states, it is IGST. If I'm talking between the countries, also it is IGST. That's why I told you IGST has two phases. But if I talk within the state, within Karnataka means it is only two which we see, that is CGST and the SGST. Suppose if my business, place of business, let's say in what do you say, let's say in Lakshadweep or in Andaman Nicobar Islands or in Pondicherry or in Delhi. Now, in that case, in place of S, we have is UT. Now, currently we see CGST and the SGST, right? That time it will be CGST and UTGST. So, what tax provisions are applicable for a state under GST? The same tax provisions will also be applicable for a union territory. That's it. So, instead of S, you have the UT applicable there. So, there is no change in the GST provisions. Okay, so let me come back to the presentation. And yes, as I've told you, there is an online procedure under GST, and most important, of course, there is a high increase in revenue for the government. Yes, huge growth in the revenue, and there's a lot of competition in the market for all the products and services post the implementation of GST. Now, yes, these are the four important components under the GST. We have CGST, SGST, we have IGST, and we have UTGST. Okay, so when it comes to C, C stands for what? It is central GST. If I talk about SGST, state GST. If I talk about UT, as I've told you, it is Union Territory GST. If I talk about I stands for, is it international? Is it Indian? So what does I define for? I stands for what? Yes. I stands for International or Indian GST. Integrated Integrated Goods and Services Tax. Yes, driver. It is Integrated Goods and Services Tax. Here IGST stands for. Fine. So now coming a step further. I'll come to this slide. I'll go to the last slide first. Yes. This will give you a clear picture of your GST framework in India. Yes. So we have two kinds of supplies, rather four, I'll say. One we have is this intrastate supply, interstate supply, import, and then we have this export. If I talk about intrastate means what? Intrastate is within the state. The purchase and sales happening within the state. Within Karnataka, it is intrastate. Okay? Any purchase, any sales happening within the state of Karnataka becomes intrastate supply. Next, what is interstate supply? Interstate supply is between two or more states. Now, my place of business is in Bangalore. I am making sales to a person who's in Pune. I'm also making sales to a person who's in Chennai. So, from Karnataka, the stocks are being moved to Maharashtra as well as it is Tamil Nadu. So that becomes interstate supplies. And if I talk about import and export, I need not explain you. All of you know what is import and export. Whenever there is a purchase of goods from the other countries, it will be defined as import. Whenever there is a sale of goods made to the other countries, it will be defined as export. Okay. So now, if I talk about the intrastate supply, which is within the state, what or which are the components of GST which are levied? It will be CGST and SGST if it is a state. If it is a union territory, it is CGST and UTGST. That's all. That's why I give a slash there. Okay. And if I talk about the interstate supply, as I've told you that time, the component of GST which is attracted is IGST. If I talk about the import and export, again it is IGST. But I'll tell you one thin line difference. See, when I talk about the supplies which are happening from from Karnataka to the other two states, okay, we have the implementation of IGST. But this IGST, there is a division of taxes between the center and the states. Now, if you talk about the intra-state supply, we have CGST and the SGST. So you also see in the bills that if it is 18% tax, 9% goes to central government in the form of CGST, 9% goes to the state government in respect of SGST. So there's an equal division of taxes between the center and the states when I talk about the intrastate supplies. But if I talk about the interstate supplies, there is no CGST and the SGST, rather, there is IGST. And this IGST, if I talk about, in the bill or the invoice raised, there is no division of taxes. Okay, there is no division of taxes. That 9% goes to CGST, 9% goes to the other two states. No, you will only see IGST rate. That's all. That is 18%. Let's assume. But there is a division of taxes between the center and the states in some defined proportion, but which is not revealed or which is where you don't find the breakup of this division of taxes in the invoice. I'll repeat it again. If I talk about the IGST on interstate supplies, in the bill that has been raised by the seller or the supplier, you don't see the division of taxes as this much proportion goes to central, this much proportion goes to the state government or state governments. Okay, that division is undisclosed. We see only as IGST 18%. But internally, there is division between the center and the states. But if I talk about the import and the export, okay, again in those cases also, we have the application of IGST. But there, what happens is the GST revenue in the form of IGST, whatever it is earned, will completely belong to the central government because it is from between two countries, it is not between two states. Yes, so if the stock items are being sold from India to Australia, the transaction is happening between India and Australia. So what happens? There is no revenue sharing among the states in India. So whatever the GS revenue is earned from these import and export, they're all completely taken over, or that complete revenue belongs to the central government and not shared amongst any of the state governments. That's why I've told you there are two phases of your IGST. Okay, so hope this is clear for you, this discussion. Yes. So if I talk about the CGST, SGST, and the IGST in detail, as I've told you, your CGST stands for Central Goods and Services Tax, and it is applicable on supplies within the state. As I told you, it is intrastate, and tax collected is shared with the central government. If I talk about the SGST, SGST stands for State Goods and Services Tax. It is applicable on supplies within the state again, and tax collected is shared by the central state government. And if I talk about the IGST, I have given only one case here, but in the second line I have covered both. That is applicable on the interstate as well as the import and the export import transactions, and tax collected to be shared between the center and the states that I talk about in respect of interstate supplies. As I've told you, import and export means the complete revenue will belong to the central government, and there is no revenue sharing with the state government or state governments. Okay, so this is clear for you, and based on this only, you're going to step ahead in the GST. Yes, or do you have any doubts with regard to GST? You can ask me. 2 minutes. Otherwise, I can move forward. Yes. Yes. Naksha has a doubt. Ma'am, can SGST be removed in restaurants? No, SGST cannot be removed here. It depends upon so many uh, situations. I can say, if I talk about your GST in terms of restaurants, okay, they have, they will be implemented. So we cannot say it can be removed in restaurants. It all depends upon the aggregate annual turnover for the restaurants. Not only restaurants, every business sector, if they have to get registered themselves under GST, the prime thing matters is the aggregate annual turnover in the previous financial year. So suppose if they cross the aggregate annual turnover, then in this year they have to get registered under GST. But when it comes to removal you can't take. It all depends upon the whether they are eligible to get themselves registered under GST. Yes. For what items there is an exemption of GST? Obviously, you have a lot many items which are subject to the exemption. Okay, if I talk about the goods, of course, you have the dairy products, you have newspapers, you have other kind of periodicals, journals, magazines. Of course, magazines don't cover all the magazines. Few sports, fashion magazines, they are subject to tax. And you have the fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, meat. They are all subject to exemption in GST. So if I talk in terms of goods, Abhirami, the list is little small, but if I talk about the list of services which find exemption under GST, it is close to almost 86 to 90 services which are exempted under GST. So we have a huge list. What goods means, usually, of course, the number is very not that big, but a finite number, I can say. But if I talk about a service, the list is huge. So 85 to 90 plus services are find exemption under GST. Okay, any other doubt? Yes. Any other doubt? So as I've told you, if they uh, cross the aggregate annual turnover exceeding 40 lakhs, then they have to get registered. If they come below, not required to get registered. And obviously, if I talk about even the registration, it is all PAN based now, where considering all the ventures, all the business branches, considering under one PAN number, if they cross the aggregate annual turnover, they will be subject to registration under GST. So these are the basic discussions. I mean, concepts I'm discussing. They're not they're not going to be discussed. Any other doubt? If I want, I'll show the list. Abhirami, do you want to see the list? Of course, here I have, or I can just show you directly what are the exemptions. A list of goods which are exempted under GST. Yes, so here we have. Of course, you can also check yourself, but of course, I'll show you through the official website. You have the coverage of it just an ongoing. Yes, as I've told you, right? Yeah. Just now I gave you a small clarity. The list is not huge. A few of them are given here, where you have components like human blood, meat, then live trees and plants, then foreign diplomatic and government services, labor supply for farms. So again, you have an inbuilt classification for that. And I told you fresh fruits and vegetables. Okay, then any meat products. Then we have edible grains, right, comprising of all these. So where you can have a detailed list of these. What kind of grains would we be subject to? Yes, you can observe it. This is all given in brief for you. As I told you, books, brochures, and newspapers, eggs, honey, and milk products, fruits and dry fruits, trees, plants, and vegetables, and all these. Yes. Of course, the pizza, cake, bread, pasta, and waffles, subject to certain cases. I mean, in one stage they are exempted. Don't consider that fine. If whatever like pizza from Domino's I'm purchasing, how come they're putting up tax there? The treatment is different. Okay, so don't relate that. It all depends upon because the pizza bread and all these normal bread, all these are exempted from GST. But whatever the topping is done, the services provided. That time, of course, you have the GST which is being implemented. Now I'll show you the list of the official website where you can um, view directly what is the current rate of GST, what is applicable. Yes. So would you like to see the official website where you can view the actual or the current rate of GSTs? And also I have one more concept to be discussed in relation to that. Yeah. So let's go on with that. I'll show you the official website now. Now that time in your tally screen you saw something, right? When you were creating all the stock groups, you saw there HSN, SAC and all that. Okay. I'll discuss that first. Then I'll show you the website. So HSN and SAC, what are they? What do we mean by that? Yes, if I talk about the HSN, HSN stands for Harmonized System of Nomenclature. Nomenclature. And this HSN is the coding system applicable for goods under GST. And it can be, it usually starts with 4 digits or 6 digits, max to max 8 digits in India. 8 is the maximum. More than eight, you don't find at all. So 8 digits is maximum in India. Okay, in India, you don't find it 10-digit coding here. If I talk about the SAC, SAC stands for Service Accounting Code, and this is applicable for, this is a coding system applicable for services under GST. And obviously, it is the same treatment. We have 4, 6, we have 8 digits. And 8 again is a maximum for services also. Okay? Right. So this is, I've given in brief. HSN stands for Harmonized System of Nomenclature. It is a coding system applicable for goods under GST. And it starts with 4 digits, 6 digits, max to max 8 digits in here. You don't find 10. If I talk about the SAC, SAC stands for Service Accounting Code, and again it is a coding system applicable for services under GST. Again, it is a 4 digit, 6 digit, max to max it is a 8 digit in India. Fine. Now here, where do you find? How can you see them? I'll guide you. I'll guide you. Okay, for that. Now here, yes. One second. Now here, yes. Let me go. You can simply type as CBIC GST rate finder. I'll make it as simple as possible. CBIC GST rate finder. Just press enter on that. Yes. Now here, can you see the official website? Yes. Now, the first one, the first link, GST goods and services rates. Okay. Yes. Now see here, you can check this out. The first link, the GST goods and services. Just click on this. Yes, this is only is the official website where you have to check out the rates of GST. See what happens, you can Google out and check the rates. But what happens, not every time, but there may be certain times where the Google might not have updated. And as you know that the tax rates are not constant. They keep on changing. And they waver and they fluctuate. And also depends upon the union budget, right? Accordingly, the rates are revised. So it might be updated, might not be updated. So this is the official website where you can keep the check on the current rates of GST for both the goods as well as for services. See, for both we have. Yes, and here you have, see, the CGST rate, SGST rate, IGST. CGST if it is 2.5, SGST 2.5, put together 5%. Okay, as I've told you, IGST if it is level between two or more states, right? One portion goes to the center, the other portion goes to the respective state governments. So IGST is also nothing but a sum. If I talk about the interstate supplies, I'm only referring to the interstate supplies. If I talk about IGST in respect of your interstate supplies, okay, it is a sum of CGST plus SGST. That's what you're saying. Total rate, I can say. And that's why it is called as integrated. So this is the official website. Now I'll give a classic example. See, we have 0403. So how many digits are there? There are four digits. Okay. So I told you it starts with four. See, all these are all four digits. So 0403 covers what? Curd, lassi, buttermilk, pre-packaged and labeled. So what is the rate applicable for curd, lassi, buttermilk? It is 5% GST. To be frank, all the essentials are taxed under 5% GST rate. If you take medicines, if you take the consumables, other consumables, all these are taxed at 5% rate. Okay, so like this, you have four digits. You pick anything, it will be here, obviously. So this is nothing but called as the HSN coding. What you observe here, right? So how does this play a role is, see, you have four digits. I'll show you a six-digit number, and I'll explain you how what role does it play or how is it used for TS. If you can observe here, for wheat to 10, whether or not right, what is the digit we have? Please count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So totally it is an 8-digit number, the highest number. I'll show you a six-digit number also. Yes. Can you see here what we love to have? Namkeens, bhujia, mixture, chabena, similar edible preparations for consumption for. What is the tax applicable? It is 5%. And can you see the HSN code here? It is 210690. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we saw 4-digit, we saw 6-digit, and we ultimately saw an 8-digit HSN code. And see, for rice and snow, we have an 8-digit coding below itself. See, I told you that time the pizza bread it is taxed at what rate? It is 5% GST. 1905 is the code applicable for that. So like that, if you just scroll, keep on scrolling the official website of the CBIC website, you can get almost all the products covered under the GST regime. Okay, so this was of the goods which I'm talking. What about the services? If you go upwards, you can also have next to goods you have services. but but before that, I told you that what role does the suggestion of the SSC coding play? Simple. Now I need to find out what is the current GST rate, okay, for a particular nature, nature of product. So what do I do is, let's say I just give the name. One second. I just give the name here and say can you see. So when I give the coding here, it will reflect the GS rate what is applicable. Okay. This is how we get the Henderson. Okay. This is what role does the Henderson code play for. Similar is the services as well. See, just click on the services. They're all taxable under GST. Yes. So what is the current tax applicable? I think one of you asked, right, about the restaurant services. See, there's a detailed discussion here. If there's a hotel accommodation less than or equal to 7,500 rupees per unit per day, it will be 12% GST. Suppose the supply of foods and other beverages, 2.5 to 0.55%. So there's a lot many things to be discussed if I talk about with the restaurant. You also include the outdoor catering services as well. Moment if I talk works contract or the restaurant services, the explanation is huge, I can say. So this is the way we keep a current check of the GST rates. Okay. Yes. So this is what I want to give you a clarity of. This is only CHSN and it's also it is the SAC code. But in your case, when you're creating the stock items for HSN and SAC code, you can Google out and see, not an issue. Because what happens, main matters is how do you put the description of goods in the search engine here. Okay, so in respect of the HSN and the SAC, probably you can just Google out and check the HSN and the SAC code. For GST rates, this is the official place, the real place where you can check up the rates. Okay, so as of now, need not worry. You can just go ahead with that. Yes, I hope all of you have gone through the website. Yes, do you have any doubts pertaining to that? So shall I proceed with the creation of the stock items in Tally software, giving the Hedison and the ACC codes? So let's go ahead. Yeah, so be back to the Tally screen. Yes. So now we have created all the. Did we create? Yeah, we created all the stock groups, right? Now we have to create the stock items. So what you're going to do is quickly press the escape key. Okay, so before creating the stock items which I have given here, okay, I told you that time, right? We can implement this GST in the stock group itself. Now, coming back to that website which I had shown you, do you see anywhere there is a brand put up? Now I hold on to your curd, lassi, buttermilk, right? Is there anywhere put as Nandini curd or Amul buttermilk or something like that? No, which means the government is not conscious about the brand, the company of which you're purchasing. Irrespective of the brand, the nature of the product matters for the government. What you're making a purchase of, what you're making a sale of. Is it curd? It will be around 5% GST. Okay, so nowhere it is being given. So what you can do is you can implement the GST rate in the stock group creation window itself. Okay, so carefully we will move ahead with that. Now, now what you can do is now printers are given as 18%. Now Logitech is a brand, Epson is a brand, right? Canon is a brand. So Logitech is a brand. So for printers basically what is the rate I have given here? It is 18%. So what you can do is all of you please come back to the gateway of Tally first. Okay, let us go smoothly. Please come back to the gateway of Tally. I will take you all very slowly. Please don't lose the track. Come back to gateway of Tally screen. Once you come back, go to the altar. After create, you have the altar option, right? Go to the altar and here go to the stock groups now. That time we created all the stock groups, right? So go to the stock groups. Under inventory masters, you have stock group. Okay, now first I've given as Logitech printers, right? So please select printers there. Select printers in the list of stock groups. Press enter on printers. Yes, you're in the stock group alteration window. Now, what you're going to do is name is printers under primary. Should the quantities of the items be added to be yes. Okay, and now here HSN or the SAC and rated details appear here, right? So what you're going to do is there you're going to select as specify details here. Specify details here. Press enter, and now you have to give the HSN code. As I've told you, now printer is a good, it is not a service. So what you're going to do is you have to go for the HSN code. So printers, as I've told you, easiest way as of now you can also check here for the HSN code. That will not change. That remains constant. Otherwise, you can also check it out in the search engine of your Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge. What is the HSN code for printers? Quickly you can just put up printers. Yes, yes. This is the code 8443. Of course, you have an inbuilt classification. What kind of a printer it is? We are just giving the main chapter and the main heading. We are not giving the sub classification. We are only giving the HSN code with regard to the main chapter and the main heading. I'm repeating it again, so don't break your head, because if you see below, you also have the chapter, the heading, the sub chapter, and the subheading. Coming to the 8-digit classification, you can only quote here the chapter and the heading. So you can just give it as 8443. Okay, description is you can give it as printers. Now here, what is the list of effective date? Current date of the company, date of the last entry, today or tomorrow's date. So since we're using the trial version now, so you can go for the current date of the company. So that we don't have any risk later. Okay. And now we can put up the GST rate. So here again you have to go for specified details here. And obviously printers are taxable at the rate of 18%, and just type as 18. Again the same thing. The first option, current date of the company. So I will leave it like this. Please do it accordingly. In case if you have any doubts, you can unmute yourself and you can ask your doubt. One second, I'll just share the screen, please. Are you done in the first one? Yes? Next. So press Control A. Now, what is the next stock item I've given here in your list of stock items? I have given as Vivo mobiles. So for mobile phones, we have to apply the G because Vivo is a brand, Oppo is a brand, Redmi is a brand, right? So mobile phones. So we have to go to the mobile phone. So again, you come back to the list of stock groups. Select that as mobile phones. Yes, and name is mobile phones under primary. Should the quantity of the items be added as yes? Here. Again, select specify details here and give the HSN code. So you can just find out like that. What is the HSN code for the mobile phones? Okay. Because this will remain the same. not an issue. So I'm just giving the main heading, that's all. So you can just give it as 8517. Alright. First date, first of April. Specify details here. Taxable at the rate of 18%. Accept yes. Accept yes. The next one we have is Renault pens. Again, Renault, Flair, all these are brands. So pens, 12% GST. So again, I'll select pens here. Come to the HSN coding. Specify details here. So what is the coding for the pens? Stationery items. Actually, stationery items will range from, they have a couple of rates. Till 18% there'll be the rates. So it's 9608. So see, if you can observe here, as I told you, till 18% the rate goes 5, 12, 18. Usually will be 12, usually 12%, max to max to 18% also it will be there. So the rates is not the same. Okay, so 9608 is what you can put up. 9608. Here again, pens. Why I'm giving description as pens, as I've told you, description is nothing but what you see the description applicable here. You saw that I'm the GST tariff, right? This is what is description I'm talking. As I've told you, there is no brand here, correct? There is no brand which is being put up nowhere. So here, where we don't have any kind of brands which are seen here, that is nothing but description. So in the Tally software also, here also have to give the same thing. I cannot give here as Renault pens because Renault is a brand. Same thing, 1st of April. Specify details here. Taxable, 12% GST. Current date of the company. Accept, yes. Next. What is the next one we have? Dell computers. So we have to go for the computers here. So let's go to the computers. Okay. Specify details here. So what is the coding? HSN code for the computers. Yes. Yes. So I'll just give it a shot. You can just put it as 8471. Main chapter and heading. 8471. Computers and the other peripherals. Taxable 18% raised. 'Next. Next, which is the one we have classmate notebooks, again a stationery item. So let me go back to the Tally software. Notebooks. Specify details here. I just send code for the notebooks. 4820. 4820. Description notebooks. 12% GST. Next, last one, petrol. Petrol, you have to be a bit careful. Petrol is non-GST, and you would categorize that where it is under liquid fuel. So go to the liquid fuel, specify details here. Now you tell me, I've given that petrol non-GST. So really the HSN comes up there as per you, as per you. You can just give random answers for the same. Will petrol be assigned the HSN code? Yes or no? And given that as non-GST for petrol.
Yes, ma'am.
So as will there be? Okay. But and let me tell you, the answer is no. What do we mean by non-GST is non-GST means which are not covered under the GST regime. Even till today, petrol is a non-GST product. You don't have the application of CGST and the SGST there. It is completely a non-GST product. Of course, there are discussions in the council, GST council, to include petrol also on the GST. But we will see when it is officially included, when the rates are being put up. But if I talk about the liquefied, not the LPG, I'm not talking about the cylinders, I'm talking about the petrol, which we use in our vehicles, it is still non-GST, which means it stands outside the GST regime. Non-GST is different, exempted from GST is different. If I talk about the exemption under GST, now what you see in this list, right? The GST tariff. In this tariff, petrol should appear. Against it, there should be nil. Okay, they are exempted under GST. Let me show you. I think I have to scroll down a bit lower. Yeah. So can you see, right? Multiple rates have been put up. So I'll show you a few products. Yes. If you can see some omitted is there, or some, against it one line will be there. As in it is a nil rate of GST. Okay, so they are all exempted under GST. They're not taxable. If you can observe here, see, it is 0, 0, 0, 0, it has been given. Okay, so not even zero, it will be nil. But what happens is, if I talk about the exempted goods, exempted services under GST, they will find a place in this GST tariff. I'll repeat again, those goods, those services which are exempted under GST, they find a place in this GST tariff, but against it, there'll be no tax applicable. But if I talk about the non-GST products, they don't even find a place in this GST tariff itself. They're outstanding, I can say. They're completely out of this GST tariff. They don't find a place in this list. They are only non-GST products. So petrol stands in that position, non-GST. Okay, you don't find the petrol here. Of course, you find the other cases of petrol, the petroleum cakes and all that, which you can find, but you don't find that. What do you say? The liquid petrol being discussed here. No, because it is non-GST. So what it means is we cannot assign the HSN code for petrol. For liquid fuel, in general, for some other product, we can put up the HSN code. But if I'm talking of petrol, if I have to put particularly for petrol in liquid fuel, I can't implement the HSN code. Okay, so what you're going to do is press the escape key and come back to the main screen, which is gateway of time. So how do you treat the petrol? I will tell you when we are going to create the final level, the That is nothing but stock items. So what we have done now is we have assigned these GST rates in the stock group itself so that it becomes easier for us when we are creating the stock items. Okay. So I hope it is clear until this stage. So the final last level we have left where we have to create the stock items quickly. 10 minutes it will be over, and then we can start off with the purchase vouchers with the implementation of GST. Okay. So I hope it is clear until this stage. Yes, Shruti. No, yes, there is no GST good. So do you have any doubts or you're clear until this stage? So can we bring an end to the today's session? So I don't have any I don't have any issues raised. So please save your works and we'll meet up in tomorrow's session and we'll continue with the creation of stock items and then with the purchase vouchers. Fine, so meet
Ma'am,
you up in the next session. Yes, ma'am. Who's this?
ma'am, so there is no HSN code for petrol, ma'am.
No, because it stands outside the GST tariff. You don't find when it is outside the list itself, we can't expect to have a coding system for that.
Oh,
Okay, and yes,
okay.
Julie, what are these products? These products are bought for the company's use. What kind of products are you referring to, Julie? You have to be clear with what kind of products. Then I can give clarity for you.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes, of course. They are brought for the company's use, but against it, what is the current GST rate applicable? It will be applicable. Otherwise, if it is non-GST, it will not come into picture. Okay, fine. So we bring an end to the session. So meet you up tomorrow. Thank you all.